Hey everybody, welcome back again to Ken Tamplin Vocal Academy, where the proof is in the singing. I'm continuing my series on a really interesting thing for me personally, and that is replacement singers. Who did it better? Next up is Foreigner. Of course, we know the main vocalists are Lou Gramm first and then Kelly Hansen second. Now, this is going to be a tough one for me because I have such man love for Lou Gramm that I'm probably not going to be as unbiased as I'd like, though I'll try to be fair. And then you guys can bust my chops in the comment sections and tell me how you think. But before we get started, if you wouldn't mind, please like and subscribe to my channel. That would be great. If you're interested in singing, I have a singing course called How to Sing Better Than Anyone Else. You can find it right here at KenTamplinVocalAcademy.com, where I also have a free singing forum over there with over 25,000 singers all talking about this stuff. So I want to dive right in. Now, Lou, for me, is one of the greatest rock vocalists of all time. I love his tone, I love his range, I love his songwriting, I love his phrasing, I love his melodic structure. Not necessarily the best live singer, and not necessarily, the best front man moving around kind of guy, but he was a Blue Jeans, Bryan Adams-y kind of guy, or whomever, just a really great. By the way, in the 70s, late 70s, early 80s, especially the 70s, it was more hip to be a Blue Jeans t-shirt guy and not be super glammy. So that's kind of more the school that he came from through that. So I totally respect and appreciate the fact that musicians back then let their music do the talking rather than the frenetic running around on stage. So let's dive right in. Lou Gramm, here we go. Want to point some things out along the way. Of course, now he's a lot younger than Kelly, so there is a definite age thing early on. There's a lot of factors, though. We talked about this, and I want to go over them again just really quickly. Did the replacement singer, Kelly Hansen, bring the band up a notch? First question. Or at least take it laterally somewhere in some way that it contributed significantly to the band, and from at a vocal level, a showmanship level, a songwriting creative level. Did they go on to write other songs? Now, in fairness, a lot of these bands, once the replacement singer left, they had very few opportunities to do new music. And I like to keep bringing this back to the Van Halen era, that when Sammy came in, he was a very different singer. It wasn't really appropriate for him to sing kind of all the David Lee Roth stuff. He could do it, but it would just kind of be like stuffing a marshmallow into a piggy bank, or maybe pounding a square peg into a round hole, so to speak. And then in contrast, David couldn't really sing his stuff either, but Sammy did go on, and he did have a tremendous career. By the way, he had a career before that, and then, Montrose solo, and then of course, Van Halen, and then after. This is important because he went on again to continue to create music and grow as an artist. David Lee Roth, not so much. He did his solo album and stuff, but I don't think he really progressed really much beyond Van Halen other than, the original solo album stuff that he did. So I want to point that out. Now, Lou didn't really go on and do really much of anything after leaving Foreigner either. We also know he has some health issues and whatnot. But again, just a phenomenally talented guy. But we've got to ask those questions along the way of, just because we have to. Okay, here we go. Okay, we're going to get some more in a minute. Now, I've seen, this is one of his better performances, actually. I have seen Lou blow some chunks in some live stuff, so he wasn't always like this on. But I just, again, I'm trying to find footage that I'm allowed to use from publishing companies and that I think showcase the artist in the best possible light. Just watch my tongue and I can't do a thing with it. But the other thing is, like, you know, his version of I Want to Know What Love Is at Farm Aid and stuff was killer. So there's genius moments for sure, but he was a little bit of a hit or miss guy in the live world. But play a little bit more and then we're going to move on. Okay, so we've got a pretty good taste to this. I want to move on. I actually have a lot more footage of this and a couple more songs and stuff. Let me see what else I grabbed here. I forget. Okay, same tune. All right, so let me move on here. I want to move on to Kelly Hansen. Now, this is important because, you know, we've talked about, by the way, wait, I do have some more stuff. Let me see what else is on here. Hold on. I should have previewed this a little more than this, but... So yeah, he does the really cool ad libs. If you guys get a chance to sing this show, he's pretty spot on. Now the next footage that I have, again, I don't want to predicate everything and base everything on just these small snippets and say that's the total sum of what these guys are all about. But it's a pretty good indication, especially if you have some good recordings and stuff. So let's move on to Kelly Hansen. We know Kelly Hansen came from the band Hurricane. In fact, I was in a band way back in the 80s and we played with them a couple times at the Roxy and I want to say the Whiskey or something, I forget. And great singer, man. Really good singer, straight up. So here we go.
Well, I'm hot, check it and see. Got a fever of 103. Come on, baby, you do more than dance. I'm hot blooded.
Okay, first thing you notice is it's tuned down, which is not uncommon. I think even Foreigner did that later too. So we caught Lou on a good day in the original key. Kelly's tuned it down a half step. Pretty common for that to happen. He's moving around a lot more than Lou, and that's a lot harder to do anaerobically speaking. You know, to be in the absence of oxygen, move around and try to sing like this. So let's continue.
You don't have to read my mind to know what I have in mind. Honey, you wanna know.
Okay, now I'm gonna say I'm guilty for favoring Lou already. I like Lou's tone better. I don't like the throaty kind of cotton in the throat sort of sound that Kelly's got going on, maybe just this show. I don't like the lack of energy. The energy's not as cool. Now I know it's not as fast. The tempo was faster in the other version, and this is more true to the album version. And then the mix is still kind of tame for me and a little just lackluster. So I'm not loving that about this.
Now you move so fine. Let me lay it on the line. I wanna know what you're doing after the show.
He's really, I wanna know what you're doing. Instead, wanna know, yeah. So Lou brings a lot more mask into the sound. We've talked a lot about this, and he's really bright in the front end, and he pushes the sound really far forward, whereas Kelly is a lot more throaty and girthy in his sound.
Now it's up to you. We can make a secret rendezvous. Just me and you. I'll show you loving like you never knew. That's why I'm hot-blooded, checking to see.
All the notes are there. The band sounds good. I'm not hearing chunky mistakes anywhere.
Got a fever of 103. Come on, baby, do your groove on the dance. I'm hot-blooded, I'm hot-blooded. If it feels alright, maybe you can stay all night.
He doesn't have quite the same contiguous airflow coming out of his mouth where it sounds real open throat and real easy for the notes like Lou did. And Lou also had a lot more power energy in his upper mid voice rather than trying to heave up the vowel sound, so to speak, or having a lot of muscle mass in the throat. Kelly has a lot more mass in the sound. Now, there's something else I want to point out that's kind of tough when we do stuff like this. The version that we saw of Lou were predominantly all the original members of the band, okay? And in this version, if I'm not mistaken, and you guys can correct me on this one too, the only original member is Mick Jones, the guitar player. So it's kind of weird. You're not hearing Foreigner, you're hearing a bunch of hired players, even including the singer, come in and just putting the name Foreigner on it. And you kind of get that feel. It doesn't feel like the guys who was originally autographed, their heart into the music early on, and that was their signature. I don't get that in this. I get a replication, a good one, but certainly not the original fire and energy of the original group and members of Foreigner.
I leave you my key.
And that's not Kelly's fault.
But you got to get me inside. Come on, girls, some kind of sign. Tell me, are you hot, mama? You sure look that way to me.
And to his credit, man, he's really trying to work it, even this funky stuff he's got going on. He's working the stage, man.
Are you old enough? Will you be ready when I call your bluff? In my time and red.
See, Lou would have never gone, time and right, time and right. He'd be really front and bright and just crisp and clear on the tone. And again, I don't know, like I said, I don't want to grade everything on this one performance, but we've kind of seen, what Kelly has here. I know at the very end, he tries to go for the ad-libs and they weren't as cool as the performance that we saw Lou, but he's a lot older too. And I'm not trying to play the old card, but there was a lot of energy back then as a 20, 22, 3, 4, 5-year-old compared to some guy in his 50s, 60, pushing 60 now, I think, or something. Anyway, but so again, my personal vote still by absolutely is Lou Gramm. Lou was around the band at the time that I've Been Waiting for a Girl Like You, all these hits were just stunning songs. And really, Foreigner's kind of done nothing of any consequence since then. And again, that may not be Kelly's fault because really Mick Jones was the principal songwriter in the band. However, it was really cheesy of Mick Jones to not give Lou Gramm credit, some kind of credit for I Want to Know What Love Is, because there's no way that song would have ever been as popular and just maybe the greatest rock ballad, anthem ballad of all time without Lou Gramm at the helm, vocally speaking. So thank you for joining me, guys. I got a few more of these coming your way. Hope you're liking hearing them while I'm liking doing them. Whatever. Like I said, I just washed my tongue. I can't do a thing with it. But anyway, definitely check out my next video.